we will start off by letting you know that we have applied all the required payroll changes for the 2019 and 2020 tax year. So any payroll you run in the new tax year will be calculated appropriately. You can also see that in the settings for the illustrations that we have updated the figures in there for the 2020 payroll as well. So there we go. So now you can see the 2020 figures in there. So if you click on that, you can see that the default tax code has been updated. And as well as all this, we also support the Welsh tax codes as well for the new payroll year. Well, the first new feature that I'm going to start off with is the Make Tax Digital. So if you would like this feature turned on, please contact your account manager and we will get the feature turned on for you. Once MTD is turned on your system, the process for enabling your client is very straightforward. What you need to do is you need to go into the company that you would want to have MTD enabled for. So I'm just going to use this one, very imaginative, MTD Webinar 2019 Limited. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Edit at the bottom. So I'm in the company details screen and I'm just going to click Edit. So in the tax settings, what I have is I've got the VAT number, the VAT registration date, but what you will now have is a new drop-down box. Please be aware that once you enable MTD, you will no longer be able to disable it. So only enable it if you're confident that you are going to be running MTD for this company. So I'm going to click yes, and then all I'm going to do is click save. So what the system now recognizes is that this company wants to be MTD registered and MTD enabled. So the next bit is really straightforward. It's similar to what we used to do with a few extra small steps. So if you go into Books VAT Returns, what you will get is your VAT return screen. So if I click Create New, what the system now realizes that because I've got MTD enabled, it takes me to the HMRC authorization page. So we act as an agent, so we're going to say, yeah, we're happy to do that. Click Continue. And what it now needs me is to enter my credentials. So for this, for you guys, would be your gateway login. But because I'm just using a test credential, I'm going to put in the information that the system provided me with before. So now what I've done is now I've logged in. HMRC's realized that. So all it's saying is it's asking for authority for just accounts that track with HMRC on your behalf. And it's just giving you all the information that we're about to do. So if you're happy with that, grant authority. And what this now does is now linked up HMRC with just accounts. And the only difference with making tax digital is that the transaction date and the VAT return date are now dictated by them. So you can no longer edit these. This isn't something that we can change. This is down to HMRC. But everything else is exactly as you were used to. So we've got our VAT return box here with our transactions. And all I need to do is click Submit if I'm happy with everything. The only other little change that you might see is that now the confirmation screen is slightly different and we've worded it as requested by HMRC with accordance to Making Tax Digital. Once we're happy, we click Confirm. And this will just go through, submit the VAT return to HMRC through the Making Tax Digital platform. It's as straightforward as that. And obviously, if you've got any questions, please let us know. And we should also have a guide. So if you do want another copy of the guide, or if you don't already have one, please contact the account manager or the support team and we will send a copy over to you. You can see that's gone through as normal. I could then print my summary, print my VAT details. If I wanted to settle it to see obviously the VAT return has been set, I can click settle. And it's just as normal as whatever you were used to with regards to our VAT returns. Only difference is obviously the steps that I have showed you. Next, what I'm going to be touching on is, as you might already be aware, we are migrating everything that's left on Silverlight, and you can no longer access Silverlight. And one of these features that we're going to touch on today is the chart of accounts. So to access chart of accounts is hover over Books, chart of accounts. So as you can see, it's now within the system. Now you can also view whatever the value is in that nominal. So if I want to click on the category, I can look at the different groups if there's more than one, and I can see exactly what figures are in each nominal. So the only difference at the moment is that you can't click into the nominal to view the transactions, but I can show you how you can search for a particular nominal anyways in a second. The other things that you can now do in our normal system and not on Silverlight is you can edit and add new nominals if you want to. So scroll to the bottom, click edit, and what you'll be able to now do is, for example, say if you want to edit a particular nominal or not. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to open this up in another system, and not in our test environment, but more of a live demonstration one, just to give you a better, more feel of it. So I'm just going to go into my company, Legendary Limited. So same steps that I just touched on before. I'm going to go over books, chart of accounts, same steps as I touched on before. Scroll to the bottom, click edit. And what you'll now be able to see is that I can now edit any nominal that I need to. I can add new nominals and so on. So for example, if I wanted to add a new sale nominal, I can say add new nominal. So click on add new nominal. I can then say, right, I'm going to say it's number 2, and I'm just going to call it sales 2. I want to include it in profit and loss. It's not post-tax profit. It's not in a P11D category. And if I'm happy, I just click save. So as well as obviously being able to add new nominals, so this is just going to refresh me with my new nominal now. We can edit or delete other existing nominals as well. So if I wanted to edit a nominal, I can press on the little pencil next to them. If I wanted to delete a nominal, I can press the little delete option. Please note, you can only delete a nominal if it does not have any transactions or anything going into it. So obviously if it's being used for anything, you will not be able to delete it, sorry. You can also add new groups as well as categories. So at the top, we could add a new category if we wanted to, or if we're within a category, for example, in the turnover, if I wanted to add a new group, I can do that as well. So you can do all these sort of editing options and adding, deleting now in our front end. You don't need to use Silverlight anymore. And the thing that you can also now do, as well as being able to edit the chart of accounts, is you can actually manage your control accounts as well. So if we scroll back to the bottom of the screen and click control account, we can also now dictate, like we used to in Silverlight, where we want to point each control account. So, for example, I want my creditors to be 737. If I wanted to change that, I can select on the drop-down box and change it to the appropriate nominal. So that's it really with the chart of accounts that we've migrated over from Silverlight. So as you can see, you can look at the nominal balances, you can edit nominals, add new ones, delete any that haven't got any transaction, add new category, add new groups. So it really has made it flexible for you. And I know some clients like to search for a particular nominal. You can still do that by going on to books, transactions, just with me, and in the search nominal, search for the nominal you look. So if I was looking for current account, I can search for current account, and it will show me all the transactions within the current account. And the beauty of this one is if you want to export, you can click export, or if you want to look at between a particular date range, you can do that as well. The other thing that we also have on our limited platform now is also the ability to reclaim VAT on mileage. So as VAT is charged on fuel, HMRC allows you to claim back the VAT from the fuel portion of the mileage. We will calculate this using their advisory fuel rate, which estimates the amount of fuel used per mile based on engine size. So I will show you exactly what I mean by this. So if I hover over employees and click expense list, just in case we do have any of our umbrella clients on, I will be touching our umbrella features shortly, but this expense one is to do with the limited platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose expenses paid by you personally. So obviously because it's a mileage, click create expense. And what it does, it takes me to the expense screen that's to do with our limited system. I'm going to select mileage. And as you can see, there's a few extra options on the mileage pop-up screen. So if I now say I've done 100 and let's say I've done 200 miles, put my postcode in and exactly where I finished. If you guys require clients to put that in. But now I can select the tax code that I want to apply to this. If I say standard 20%, the size of my engine, because this will then dictate how much of the portion we can claim back as VAT. And then I can press what my fuel type is. Click calculate, and the system then looks at, obviously does it as normal, so you're 200 miles by 0.45. But when I click add expense, if I delve into the expense, I can see now that a portion of it has been applied with VAT. So obviously this is appropriate when it comes to things like VAT returns and stuff, because it allows your contractor to claim back any VAT that they had on their mileage based on obviously their engine size and so on. So this is a really little clever new feature we've added for clients who wanted to claim this back for their contractors. So if I click save expense, that's now posted the expense. So if I was to go on a VAT return screen, I can view that on there. So that's really from our main features that are really affecting our limited software. The new features that I'm going to be touching on now are going to be mainly appropriate to our umbrella clients and our umbrella products. So the first one I'm going to actually touch on is one of my favorite features that's come out actually as part of this release. And this is the ability to make timesheets automatically payable when adding full payments to an invoice. So to first get this turned on, you need to log in as the super user, hover over home and click setup. Once you're in the settings screen, click edit at the bottom. And what this will now take you to is obviously our home setup screen. I'm going to click on client settings and I'm going to scroll to the bottom. And what you'll now see is a new feature called mark timesheets payable on invoice payments. So this means that when you're doing your bookkeeping in the invoice screen and then you add in a full payment to an invoice, we can automatically mark the timesheets as payable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click tick on this. But while I'm on this screen, I'm going to touch on this feature as well. So when you import in timesheets onto Just Accounts, they used to automatically post, but now they won't do that. And if you want them to carry on doing that, please tick this tick box and we will post invoices on import. I'm going to click save. So what this now means is that I've enabled this feature on my system. So it means that when I go into my invoices and make them add payments to them from a bookkeeping point of view, it will mark my timesheets as payable as well. Just bear with me while this is saving. Again, apologies that this might appear to be running slow. It's just my webinar software does do that to your PC. So I'm going to click home. I'm going to go into one of my umbrella companies. So I've got my standard umbrella company on here. So I'm just going to click on that. So like I said, that feature is now turned on. So this means that I can now automatically make timesheets payable. So what I've done before, but like Art Attack, I've had a timesheet prepared. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the timesheet. And all I'm going to do is click invoice. As you can see, I've got my make payable option, but I'm not going to click that. I've got my invoice. I'm going to open that in a new tab and touch on it in a second. But I'm going to go back to the list and I'm going to show you that obviously the status of this timesheet is set as approved. But watch what happens when I go onto the invoice. So I know a lot of our clients mark the invoices as paid because it actually does it from a bookkeeping point of view. I'm just going to click post to this timesheet. So I'm going to post it to the books, update the nominal ledger. And what I'm going to do now is click add payment. Just as you guys do this normally. So whether it's a invoice payment from agency ABC or whatever it is that you do, and I'm going to click post. But please remember that you have to pay the full payment of the invoice for this feature to work. So part payments does not make the timesheets automatically payable. If I now go back to timesheet list screen and I click refresh, is voila, the timesheet has automatically been made payable. This is as a result of that setting. So I really personally really like this setting because it means that you no longer have to duplicate that task of marking an invoice payable, then going into the timesheet screen and marking the timesheets payable. By doing it through the invoice screen, you're automatically making the timesheet payable. I know there's a lot of my clients who are going to really like this. So obviously, if you've got any questions and stuff, please fire away as your account manager and we will obviously answer them. But this feature, honestly, is going to save you a lot of time if you are doing the invoice section and marking the invoices as paid. So the next thing I'm going to touch on is another feature that I'm actually really excited about because I know it's going to save a lot of clients a lot of time. And this is the ability to automatically opt employees into the holiday pay scheme. So I'm going to hover over companies and click details because this is where you would have to enable it. So within your umbrella companies, if you have more than one, or within your umbrella company, if you have one, click on company details, scroll to the bottom and click edit. And what you'll now see, find settings tab once it loads, is this functionality at the bottom called auto opt into holiday scheme. What this actually means is that your clients, when you create a new employee going forward, and if you tick this, they will automatically be enrolled into the holiday pay scheme. So you no longer have to manually go into the employee and click join scheme. Obviously, if you want to manage that and still manually opt people into holiday scheme when you require them to be in it, you can still do that and just don't tick this. But I do know there are clients out there who automatically wanted this feature and now it is there. So what I've done again is I've got an employee sort of on the verge of creation. So all I'm going to do is click submit. So I'm going to create a new employee for this company. I think I named them Jonathan Biabiani, but we'll see in a second. So I've created Jonathan. And as you remember previously, when you had a new employee, you would have to click on the employee once it goes through. You would have to click on your employee, payroll details tab, click join scheme. But as you can see, because I've ticked that box, you no longer have to do that step unless you want to. The system has automatically joined Jonathan into the holiday pay scheme, and the join date is the date that he's joined the limited company, as in your umbrella company. So that's really straightforward now. So you no longer need to go in and click join holiday pay scheme if you don't want to. If you want everyone to opt in automatically, please click that tick box. Any new employee will be automatically opted in. The next feature that I'm going to touch upon is that you can now add or create or edit existing payroll codes. So what I mean by this is that there's two ways to do this. So if you've got existing companies, this won't apply for them because this will only apply to any new company. So in the home setup, there's a functionality called payment codes. And this will only apply the new payment codes to any new company created. So obviously in the umbrella scenario, if you've got an existing umbrella company, you'll have to do what I'm about to show you in a second. But if you wanted to do this for any new companies, you can go on your default payment codes. You can edit any. So if you want to rename, for example, commission to basic pay 2 or anything else, you can do that. You can rename any of the other descriptions, or you can add new payment codes as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it as if I'm doing in the standard umbrella company. So like I said, if you do it from home setup, it only applies to new companies. If you wanted to edit or add new codes to your existing company, you'd have to go into the company itself, hover over employees and click payroll settings. And then what you'll now see is a new tab called payment codes. So again, this is the same screen as we're looking at, but this is for the actual company. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through and add a new code because I think this is a code that's going to be very useful for a lot of clients. And it will sort of leads me on to my next new feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a debt repayment code. I'm just going to call it debt repayment. It'd be good if I could spell debt. debt repayment, I'm going to give it the description of debt repayment. And I've not spelled debt right. The debt repayment. And the code that we're going to use is 900 for debt repayments. I'm going to say that it is before tax. I'm going to say that debt repayments is not before NI, but I am going to say it is before pensions. Obviously, because it's a debt repayment, I'm going to say it's a deduction. I'm also going to say that it is not a pension. I'm going to say that it is a regular and that it is a variable, but I do not want it excluded from the umbrella calculation. Click save. So obviously, if you guys are going to be doing any debt repayments with the feature I'm about to show you after this is a code that you will need to add to your system. Obviously, if you need any assistance or any help, please contact your account manager or the support, and we can go through this step with you as well. But once I click save, the system will then add this payment code for me. But yeah, so that would be the process of adding payment codes. But also, like I said, you can edit existing ones as well. So for example, I've edited this to could be called basic pay 2, but if I wanted to call it additional pay, I can do that as well. And all I would do is just click save. Hope that makes sense for everyone. I'm not sure why it's not saving this one for me at the moment. What I'm going to do, just because I want to show you, I'm just going to amend one of my message codes because I want to sort of show you this debt repayment. Put this one in so then we can obviously see it. Actually, I've given it too many zeros. And I can then go back and edit that. So there's no problem. It's very flexible and it allows us to sort of go in and edit it. So that's done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch on, obviously, the adding of the debt to an employee. So this is if you wanted to add a debt to one of your clients, which will then to deduct from future payrolls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into one of my employees called Miss Grant. And as you can see, we've got a new option at the bottom called add debt. So this allows me to add a debt to this employee for me to deduct, like I said, from future payroll. I can say what it is. So if, for example, there was an overpayment, I can say overpayment and say what the amount was. So let's say if we overpaid her by £500, I can say, okay, overpayment by £500. Click OK. So debt's being created. If I go on my payroll details screen, I can see the debt. So she's got outstanding debt of £750. So it looks like she owed us £250 from before already. And so now she's got overall debt of £750. What you can then do is in the regular payments is say how much money you want her to repay you. If I go on the code and say, for example, debt repayment, and say, right, I want her to give me back £250. I want to across the next 3 weeks because that's the agreement I've got with her. And then all I do is click save. And then that would then obviously give me the debt. The debts as well is that you can manage them from overall. As I say, if I go on employees debt, I can see all the debts that have been added to the system as well. I can see all my employees debts. So at the moment, I'll see how many I've got. So I've got three employees because Miss Grant's got 2. And I can see exactly what the reason for their debts are. So this, for example, they had an advance payment. So, and I can look at the details of that, when it was added, so on. But if, for example, it was wrong, I can click delete and remove the debt as well from this screen. And also I can look at if there's been any paid debt or not. So it's really easy to manage. Like I said, like I showed you, you can either do it within the employees. So if I go on to maybe another employee, for let's say Jonathan Bibiani, because he just started for us and he needed some advance and we paid him an advance payment. And we can click on Jonathan Bibiani, so he's been paid early. And I'm going to say, right, Jonathan's got, again, add debt. Exactly the same process we went through. Give her the description, give her the amount, give her the regular payment. And next time you run payroll with this employee within it, we will deduct that regular payment depending on the figure you put in. The other things that we've actually added as well to the employee is the ability to now support in the calculations of different absences, so statutory payments. So to do that, you click on Add Absence, and you can then select the absence type. So I'm just going to say, let's say, paternity. And we can then put when the child is due. So let's say if it was the Friday the 1st, we can say that if the child's obviously already been, if it's been born, we can say, yeah, he or she's been born on such and such day. So let's say if it was yesterday. And we can give us obviously any other information that we need to say. We can also say when the start date is going to be. So let's say if he's going to be off from today and he's going to be back, let's say, next month. And we can say when he's exactly returning, which days are qualifying, and exactly what his average weekly earnings is. Click Save, and the system will now realise this absence, and it would add it to the system for Jonathan. And absence details can be found in the absence details screen, where you can edit or delete them if you need to. Again, like I said, click Add Absence, and you can choose exactly the reason for their absence from the drop down box. There's a lot more information. It's just me. And for example, sickness, you can add doctor note. If, for example, it's adoption, you can put the adoption informations in. If it's authorized, you can give the reason why it's authorized. And you can give obviously any other statutory payments or anything else that you would want to. So we've made this process a lot more slicker, a lot more easier to manage, and allows you to add a lot more information for you to exactly see what the absence was. And as well as this, we've improved and updated our make leaver process. So previously you needed to add a date left and then run payroll, but now we've made it a lot more slick and easier to run. So for example, now if you click make leaver in the individual employee, you can give a reason why they've gone and why they're leaving you. Obviously, I know I haven't even paid this person yet, so it's telling me a P45 won't be generated. But if I had, obviously a P45 would be. If I click yes, the system would then run a P45 for you and make this person a leaver. And you no longer need to run payroll to make someone a leaver. So for example, if I click yes, this is now, what it does is it runs its own payroll batch behind the scene and makes the person a leaver. And similar to before, you get your date left and you get your P45, obviously if they had been paid. But because I've just created this employee, he's just come in and gone. But as well as that, you don't have to just do it on an individual level anymore. You can do it in bulk as well. So if you hover over employees and click levers, so employees, levers, what you'll get is the lever screen. What this allows me to do is actually search for a last paid date. So, for example, if you were doing a clear and you want to say, right, I want to get rid of everyone who hasn't been paid since the 31st of 12, we'll show you whose last paids there were. And what you can do, then you can select on the employees you want to make lever, click make selected levers, and the system would then make them all levers. So I don't want to get rid of Miss Grant, so I'm going to say, right, make these two lever, and the system will now make them levers. So you will make them all levers in bulk. So you don't have to go in and click on do it for each employee. You can do it in bulk as well. So let's say an umbrella, you're having to clear out 20 employees that haven't been paid for 4 or 5 months, and you want to pay 45 of them, make them levers. This process would obviously speed that up for you. So some of the other things that we've actually done as well as part of the umbrella improvement is that you can now adjust tax codes and remove and include timesheets in a calculated payroll. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hover over employees and click on payroll groups. And again, what I've done is I've got a payroll group set up that we can look into just to save us time. I'm going to click on view batch. So this obviously takes me to the calculation screen for the umbrella company. And what you can see now is obviously I've got my 5 employees who I wanted to get all unpaid, but I can now actually manage certain things within the screen. So if I click on pay slip for this for forename.surname, brings me up what you guys are already used to. As you can see, also my thing is called now Basic Pay 2 because obviously I edited the payment codes. If I click Edit, I can change his tax score from the screen if needed. I can change his week 1, month 1 if needed, but I can also add and remove timesheets. So let's say if I didn't want, he's getting paid for one timesheet, but I wanted to pay him for 2 of these, I can add 2. Or alternatively, 2 timesheets are pulled in, but I only want to pay him for one of them, I can remove one as well. Click OK. System will then apply that, calculate that individual level. And obviously, once it's calculated, you'll get your figures again. And then once you're happy, it's just a normal standard process that you guys are used to. Click Postings. And submit the payroll to HMRC. I'll apologise to HMRC for being late. But again, like I said, so we made it a bit more flexible for you from the calculation screens. The generating pace is normal, running payroll exactly as normal. The other thing I want to touch on, which I know again some clients would love this, is that you can now add deductions onto a timesheet. Just so you know, this is currently not available through the import. This is only available when you're manually adding a timesheet. So if you go on employees timesheets, and again, like I said, this is only if you're manually creating a timesheet. This is not available through the timesheet yet. This is something that we're working on and will be released in our future releases to allow you to do what I'm about to show you through the import as well. But right now, it's only through when you're creating a timesheet manually within the system. So I'm going to click Create New Timesheet. I'm going to choose Miss Grant. And what you'll now see is if I click on Edit, is that in the rates, I can now say whether something is a deduction and whether I want to exclude from the invoice. So what I'll do is I'll go through. So let's say she had a normal, obviously, rate of 35 for a default rate. And what I'm also going to say that actually she had a, let's say, deduction from her invoice. So this could be, for example, a chap's fees from the agency that were deducting from source. So this is getting deducted from the invoice. I can say that was £100. It was a deductible, and I don't want to exclude it from the invoice. But let's say then you had a deduction that you don't want to be taken off the invoice. So let's say £1,000 invoice has come in, and you want the £1,000 to still come in, but you want the timesheet to be £900 because you're holding out the £100 as a deduction for yourself. And what you can then say, for example, is right, this is £100. It's a deduction. I'm excluding that from the invoice. So then when we're, for example, running through his normal, so let's say if the guy had worked 10 hours, 20 hours, but what I can then say is I can select one of these rates and just say, right, he's done 1 hour for that one and deducting for the umbrella and say, right, he's done 1 hour for that one. So I'm basically telling the system to make these deductions. Actually, I'm going to say he's done another 20 hours just to give us a nice figure. Click Save. And what you'll see is that these deductions are then made from the timesheet. And for example, if I approve an invoice, we'll only have one of them deductions on the invoice. Click Invoice. What they'll do, I'm going to run through this again with another employee because obviously there's a different way you could put this in as well. So as you can see, this is now gone through. So if I look at the invoice itself and look at the items, you can see I've got my deduction there. That was a deduction from the invoice. So it's automatically done it for you. It's automatically gone onto the invoice. but it's also automatically then from the other deduction we automatically divided from the net. But you don't have to, if you don't want to keep doing this on every timesheet you create, you can update the contract to reflect this as well. So if I hover over employees and contracts, and this time I'm going to pick on Donald Donaldson, and I'm going to click edit on his contract, and I'm going to go into the terms tab once it loads, and I'm going to click add rate. I'm going to say, let's say Donald's was £25 because I'm going to get it to £1,000 so we can see this. But then I'm going to say, right, this was a deduction. Again, I'm just labeling this just so we can see it easier in this webinar. Obviously, you can label as well as you want. It's a deduction invoice. I'm going to say £100. It's a deductible, and I don't want to exclude it from the invoice. And then I'm going to say deduction. Let's just say from payroll. So we're going to reduce this from the timesheet, but not. Actually, I'm just going to call it deduction timesheet rather than invoice. Deduction timesheet, and let's say this one is £200. And I'm going to say it's a deductible, but excluded from the invoice because we're going to keep the money in the umbrella company. Click save. Employees. And sorry, I pressed the wrong button. If I go on employees timesheets, I'm now going to create a new timesheet for Donald Donaldson. So I'm going to click create new. I'm going to choose Donald. Click create. So what I'm going to do is I'm just to obviously show you guys, I'm just going to click edit. And I'm going to say, right, 10 hours here, 15 hours there, and another 15 hours here. This should, if my maths is right, should give us an invoice value or a net invoice value of £1,000. So as you can see, net invoice amount is £1,000. But just because I want to show you all these, I'm going to click edit now. But because I added it at the contract level, I don't need to go into the rates tab and add the deductible rate on there. So as you look on the rates, there's the deductions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first do, actually it looks like I hadn't pressed this, but I'll click it for this now, the deduction timesheet. So I'm going to click on here, I'm going to select, let's say, deduction invoice, and I'm going to click 1 hour, just because I want it to be 1 times 100. If I click save, as you see, the net invoice amount is £900. So if I was to click invoice, it would then be £900. But I'm going to click edit again. This time, I'm going to do the one for the timesheet. So this means that when we run payroll, I'm going to be doing £900 minus 200. Click save. This is £900, but if I was to run payroll, it would only pull through £700, which I'll show you in a second as well. So I'm going to click approve. So as you can see, I've got 2 deductions on this, overall £300 worth of deductions. But because I clicked exclude, it's only done £900. And I'm going to click invoice. And if I click on the invoice now, again, as you'll see that deduction on there, but only the one that I've ticked to include invoices. There you go. Invoice minus 100. Just because I really like the functionality, I'm going to use the functionality I showed you before, where I'm going to add payment to this timesheet because it's going to automatically mark my timesheet as payable. If I now go back to the timesheet screen, I've got my timesheet for £900, but if I was to run payroll, it would do it at £700. Where is it? So if I click include, because I need to get rid of the grant. I'm looking for Donald Donaldson. There it is. So that's been marked as payable, like I showed you before. Got the net invoice for £900, but if I was to run payroll, it would obviously include the deduction timesheet as well. So employees, payroll groups. I'm going to just run the one that I know Donald's in. And what this now will do is obviously we'll do £1,000, take away the £100 from the invoice deduction, £200 from the timesheet deduction. So it does all the deductions for you, so you no longer have to manually do it. You just need to do it in the timesheet level. Well, like I said, this is a feature we are working on. So at the moment, it's only available in the timesheet screen when you add in the timesheet manually, but we are going to incorporate this into our import too as well. But there you go. So Donald Donaldson, hours value is only £700. Even though his timesheet was for £1,000, we've deducted 100 from the invoice. We've deducted another 200 from the timesheet value that we're going to pull into payroll, leaving him only with £700. And that's it. It's as straightforward as that. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar. I'm really excited for you guys to use some of these features. But like I said, if you've got any other questions, please contact your account manager or the support team, and we will answer any that you have. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for your time. Have a great day. Goodbye.